from Punjab to Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is the next state that we'll go to. I'll take you through the party-wise vote share numbers, and then we'll take you through the seat share numbers. Remember, in 2017, the BJP had 47% of the vote share. In 2019, in the general elections in the state of Uttarakhand, the BJP had 61% of the vote share. Access My India projects for India today that in the state of Uttarakhand, the BJP this time will have 44% of the vote share, down 3% from the 2017 assembly elections, but still 4% more than the Congress, which is projected to get about 40% of the vote share. In a bipolar election, a 4% vote share is usually substantial, but the interesting thing is you've also got AAP and you've got the BSP. AAP only 3% of the vote share according to this exit poll, and BSP 6% of the vote share. Let's now see how this translates into seats. When it comes to the question of whether this will be a hung house or whether the BJP will win clean and clear, Access My India is projecting for India today that in Uttarakhand, the BJP will be just above the majority mark. The majority mark is 35. Pradeep Gupta saying thoda sa zyada, 36 to 46 for the BJP, 20 to 30 for the Harish Rawat-led Congress, the BSP at 0 to 2, and the Aam Aadmi Party hasn't done well in Uttarakhand. They tried to get an ex-Fauji man as their chief ministerial candidate. That doesn't seem to have done very well for them. In 2017, the BJP had 56 seats, so that's coming down to between 36 and 46. The Congress had only 11. That's going up to 20 to 30, but not enough to change which party wins Uttarakhand. So you basically just said majority se thoda zyada. That's essentially what you're saying, Pradeep Gupta?
Yes, definitely. The big difference between Congress and BJP is turning out to be the women voters. The difference among the male voter between Congress and BJP is only 1%. But the difference between Congress and BJP among women voter is 8%. Too big a margin, and the reason is very simple. The social delivery of social welfare schemes of central government, Modi government. That's the only thing. When we ask the region, in fact, you will surprise here, we simply ask if you are voting to this party, the why. The why factor for the BJP is turning out to be Modi ke karan 31%, which is the highest, and the next best is development of the state. This is the second reason. See, the difference between first and second is 10 percentage point among the BJP voter. That is what did all the tricks.
No, that's interesting because you're essentially saying
Rahul,
that it's only because of Prime Minister Modi that they're winning, or largely because of Prime Minister Modi that they're winning in Uttarakhand.
This is huge because when you think about it, I don't think I've seen in a long time, and we are in a state election where the gap between for the men voters is virtually identical. But for women voters goes to 8%. Yes, Mamta Banerjee was there, but Mamta Banerjee even led among men. Here you've got a 1% gap between BJP and Congress as per the exit poll among men. It goes to 8% among women.
BJP in the third phase in Bihar, 11%.
But you see, you'll have it in individual phases. Now you've got an 8% in a small state like Uttarakhand. Once you get that kind of, that's the game changer. Yeah. And Pradeep is right. And I've seen this on the road. Welfare schemes, Ujjwala, whether it is Saubhagya scheme, whether it is schemes for school uniforms for children, whether it is providing cash through Jan Dhan Yojana, this whole Labharti concept, the woman is appreciating it much more, particularly when it comes with law and order also, much more than the male voter. The male voter is looking, I found, much more at Berozgari, much more strongly at what COVID has done, and the fact that they don't seem to have a future, economic distress. The woman is looking at these schemes, and if this holds, this is a template, Rahul, which needs to be examined more closely. The woman voter, we keep talking about Dalits, we talk about Brahmins, we talk about Muslim vote bank. There is, for God's sake, a woman vote bank. Nitish Kumar realized it. Jayalalitha was the first to realize it years ago. Mamta Banerjee has realized it. Narendra Modi has realized it. And Naveen Patnaik has realized it. Others need to wake up and smell the coffee. Women are a key vote bank. Rahul, you agree?
No, here
Rahul Verma, and then I'll come to you, Rakesh.
It's happening for now 5-7 years. What we are seeing.
What has changed?
One,
why is it happening?
Many things, and we don't have good evidence to basically pinpoint one. In last 5-7 years, women turnout has been increasing in many states where women are outnumbering men voters. That's the first thing which is happening. And second, what we are seeing that in certain states, women are voting for one particular party in comparison to others. So West Bengal, Uttarakhand in the last election as well, Tamil Nadu when Jayalalitha was chief minister, Nitish Kumar was getting this vote, even LDF in Kerala got advantage among women voters. So I think a mix of perhaps you could call as beneficiaries, Labharti factor, and perhaps because of law and order situation, or there is a women leadership at the top of party hierarchy. Many of these things must be driving
No, the BJP doesn't have a woman leader at the top. I can understand Mamta, I can understand Jayalalitha. Let's ask Sheila that. Sheila, why? Why are women voters voting more for BJP than men?
First of all, Modi did it in 2002 to 2007, if you remember.
In Gujarat.
Totally concentration on Gujarat. They really work for this particular constituency. One. Second thing is that it looks a little non-academic, but the fact is even women's mobile has a WhatsApp. So women are have incoming info. What goes to man is going to woman also. Whether he reads, she reads, gets time to read is different. Very different, very.
No, what is the attraction? No, I'm asking, let me press you. What is the attraction that a woman voter has? I'm seeing this now in more and more elections. Yes, Mamta Banerjee benefited from it. Nitish Kumar with his schemes benefited. Is it Ujjwala? Is it the fact, dare I say, that Mr. Modi, Yogi Adityanath, other leaders who may be single, are seen as people whom the women are able to कि हमने परिवार को हटाकर हमने पूरी जिंदगी आपके लिए न्योछावर की है.
Radip, since last 2-3 years we are saying there is a new class called Labharti. वो Labharti तो feminine है. Labharti कौन है? वो तो women है.
Right.
So they are voters because first they started with
no, but Labhartis are men and women. Why are the women voting more?
When you address the last mile development, when you
yes,
it's not the man who cooks.
Last mile development is all about women.
If you give free food grain for 2 years,
yes,
if free food grain for 2 years, it comes to the woman. But there is a catch, Rajdip. I think also there is a problem that I've seen in UP, for example, is that Ujjwala cylinder did very well till last election, but for the last 2 years or 1 year, that 1,000 rupees ka cylinder, because of that they have not been able to buy the cylinder. It has become an eyesore. So there is a bit of negative, but Labharti is a big element. I think women is a beneficiary, and I think you should give it, Rajdip, the focus, concentration. Say in Chhattisgarh, among the tribals, it's a matrilineal society where Raman Singh created all cards, be it health and others, as in the name of the women in the family, not the men.
Okay.
I think socially change has been happening.
Yes, Pradeep wants to respond, then Rakesh. Yes, Pradeep. What the woman voter
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you. It's all about women's financial independence. Over the years, they were largely depend on their male member. What had changed since last 20 years is first is the technology, so is the communication, so is the education level. So they want to be seen as independence, their financial independence, and these leaders, the top leaders, have realized this and they started feeding them.
And
so
for
them,
who the preferred choice for chief minister is. So we've got that on our screen, and remember, this post-poll study shows that Pushkar Singh Dhami is fighting a tough fight himself. So on the seat, and Pradeep is smiling, can give us some details, but according to this post-poll study, Pushkar Singh Dhami is the first choice for chief minister for 34% of the voters of Uttarakhand. Any candidate from the BJP is 10%. Harish Rawat is at 31%. So 31 versus 34, not much to choose between Dhami and Harish Rawat. Pritam Singh is at 2. Any Congress candidate is 6%. Colonel Ajay Kothiyal from the Aam Aadmi Party, very distinguished army officer, but hasn't made much of an impact on the ground in Uttarakhand. Only 2%. Any AAP candidate 1, any BSP candidate 6. But 34 versus 31, not much to choose. It's essentially, Pradeep Gupta, Prime Minister Modi who is carrying the BJP to victory in Uttarakhand, because 31% of the respondents, the maximum number, when they were asked why you voted for who you did, they're saying they voted for the BJP because of Prime Minister Modi.
So Rahul, what's your question?
My question is, it's the Prime Minister who, like Sachin Tendulkar in Sharjah, seems to be carrying the BJP to victory in the hill state.
Yeah, and the reason is very simple here is BJP has changed 3 chief ministers. So there is no face in people's mind, and there is only one face, which is Modi, which is the case. But when coming to the chief minister thing, and you said, my poll is suggesting Pushkar Singh Dhami is having tough fight in his own constituency. Let me also tell you, Harish Rawat ji is also, if my poll is correct, Harish Rawat ji is also struggling to win his seat from Lal Kuan. Let me tell you.
And let me give you why, look at the bizarreness of the Congress party strategy. Harish Rawat, who was their most popular face in Uttarakhand, Rahul, spent most of the last year in Punjab as the General Secretary of the Congress in Punjab. If these numbers are right, and we don't know, this will be the first time since Uttarakhand was formed in 2001 that a government will have beaten anti-incumbency. You've had 2 Congress governments and 2 BJP governments. So actually this was the Congress's turn, much like it is in Rajasthan. But even in Uttarakhand, if these numbers hold, serious questions again for the Indian National Congress. I mean, one thing is to lose Punjab, where you have won in 2014 Lok Sabha, 2019 Lok Sabha and 2017 Assembly. You remove your chief minister. The BJP removes its chief minister, removes 3 chief ministers in a year, and still seems likely to win. Now, I also think there's an element of last mile connectivity. The BJP's organization in Uttarakhand way superior to the Congress in the hill state when it comes to reaching out to people, to cadres, to booths. The Congress...
No, it's also your inability to win. It's just basic. If the man who's supposed to lead you in Uttarakhand is busy in another state trying to douse the fire over there, if he doesn't know he's in charge, if he's being undercut, and he's the only man who can take you to victory and you don't give him respect till it's very late in the campaign. Remember, 7% vote share increase is something that the Congress is seeing from 33 to 40%. The BJP's vote share is actually coming down. So directionally, the BJP was on the way down, the Congress was on the way up, but just not enough juice in the engine to take it across the firing line. GVL Narasimha Rao joins us from the BJP, and GVL, it's interesting that 31% of the respondents are saying they voted for the BJP because of Prime Minister Modi. So it essentially means that the MLAs, the CM candidate is only 3%. It's only the Prime Minister who seems to be taking you to power in the hill state.
Rahul, good evening to you and all the panelists. And it was also the Prime Minister who brought the BJP to power in both Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh in 2017. The massive victories in 2017 were also a result of Prime Minister Modi factor. And that is playing all over once again. In Uttarakhand, obviously, we have its Prime Minister's image, which is certainly taking us forward because we have changed chief ministers. That was, despite that, the Congress party does not have any leadership, does not have issues, and people are trusting Prime Minister because they have seen him deliver on development, not only at the national level, but also in the states where BJP is in power. And certainly that's helping the BJP. One thing you must look at, I think we'll need to discuss this in more detail on the 10th. I would like you and Rajdeep to consider this. In 2017, despite many of you in the media saying Notbandi is really pulling the BJP down, people are going to sweep the BJP out of office in different states. But it was demonetization and the development of Prime Minister Modi which pushed us to power. And now, mind you, it is the last 2 years Prime Minister's leadership in battling a crisis called COVID. I think, and the manner in which he has really ensured that most citizens of the country have COVID vaccinations. He protected an entire generation. I think this certainly means a lot to the women of this country. You and I may not really think much about it. The safety, the health, these are big things. They play on the top of people's minds and women's minds.
Hold your thought. Just one caveat. At least one poll, C voter is suggesting that the Congress will be ahead of the BJP in a hung assembly, 35 plays 29, very close. So Uttarakhand, small margins. We must be very careful about that. That's why. And I think that's what he is. But I have a fascinating thing that one of India's top sociologists has said. I'm listening to you all, and he says the reason why women vote for Modi, listen very carefully, and his social schemes is because Mr. Modi is interested primarily in conducting a status war, while others are considering of class war. Status war is about gas, toilet, ration, safety, bank accounts. Class war is about jobs and inflation. BJP via Modi has broken free from class war pretenses and embraced status war heartily. Status war has made a huge impact on the Indian woman.
But can
Very
I
interesting,
point
fascinating.
out, which
Whatever you call it, but there are main aspects.
Rahul, just give me 30
Yes,
seconds.
30 seconds.
So
Chalo.
you know what happens that till now we discussed that program-based Modi is getting support from the women. In fact, he expanded the democracy. This time women's turnout, elsewhere, the women's turnout is not based on his program. They have now faith on Narendra Modi's social philosophy, that he had provided some kind of autonomy to women to decide their voting pattern.
Sir, in Bengal, the same women
no,
voted
but can
for
I
Mamata.
point one second?
No, sir, in Bengal, we are always fighting for the.
Sir, the women voted for Mamata in Bengal.
You know,
Uttarakhand,
where our party machinery. No, there is a difference between the two. When you are going for the women voters, their support for Narendra Modi is because that he expanded democracy to their doors. It is not only that they are just turned out and they are voting for.
Sure. So when you're talking about what's working, Rakeshji, let me also tell you what's not working. The one interesting thing to look at as you study this India Today Access My India poll is that amongst the first-time voters, those between 18 and 25, the young voters, the BJP trails the Congress. In Uttarakhand, for example, 38% of the first-time 18 to 25 voters voted for the BJP, 43% for the Congress. So the 5% gap, first-time voters and young voters. So, Pradeep, build on this. While they're doing very well among 61 and above, 50 and above, 26 and above, amongst the aspirational young voters, the BJP is actually trailing by 5%.
And can I quickly add to that, Uttarakhand has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country. Yeah. Let's be very clear. It's not as if Uttarakhand gave a great government. 3 chief ministers. The BJP government there failed. Yes.
That's what I'm trying to make the point that here also, this is the overall tally where the male voter is more aspirational towards the job, you know, towards their financial status, whereas the social government schemes mostly is skewed towards women. And that is where the youth feel they are left out from the total spectrum and they go elsewhere.
Okay. No, but the big fear here, and Rohan Gupta from the Congress joins us, that when circumstances are ripe for change in Goa 2017, in Gujarat 2017, in Haryana 2019, the Congress just doesn't have enough gas in the tank to be able to go across the finishing line. Your vote share is up 7% in Uttarakhand. The BJP's vote share is down 3%. You still can't land that killer blow. You can't knock out your opponent.
If these numbers are right.
All of this is if these numbers are right. Rohan? You're on mute. You're an IT social media guy. Get your Zoom act in order.
Please, boss, there is some technical issue from your side, Rahul.
Okay, good.
I am
tell
trying
us.
to figure out, so I understand what is Zoom.
Welcome,
Now can
I'm
you hear
just
me?
joking. Please tell us. Yes,
Yeah.
I hear you well. Go on.
Yeah, so Rahul, basically we have seen what has happened to exit polls in past, whether it is Bihar, whether it is UP, and we have seen what are the final numbers which have come out. I think we should wait for 10 and see what is happening on ground. I was there in Punjab for last 1 week, and the kind of wave we had in last 1 week was absolutely commendable. So I think let's wait till 10 and you will see the difference in what is shown right now and what is going to happen on ground. And let me tell you one more thing, whether it is Uttarakhand or whether it is Goa, the way Congress cadre fought tooth and nail, we were not fighting only against BJP. We were fighting against all the parties, whether BJP is A team, B team, C team, but we really fought very hard. And I am sure all these states, we are definitely going to form clear-cut government. There is absolutely no doubt on that.
So we're now going to move from Uttarakhand to Goa. Yes, I know you're waiting for Uttar Pradesh. Just bear with us. Today was the last phase of polling. We're getting our numbers right. We want to be as exact as is possible.